Jamaica, one of my subscribers recently asked me to, asked me a question that I couldn't ignore. They wanted to know, why does the Jamaican government force people to retire at age 65? Now, think about that for a moment. Imagine you have spent 40 years serving your country. You still have your health, you still have your experience, you still have the desire to contribute. Yet, one day you're told, thank you for your service, it's time to go. But why? Is 65 really the age when a person becomes too old to work? Or is this simply an outdated policy that no longer fits the realities of modern Jamaica? And here's another question. If people are living longer, staying healthier, and the government are struggling to find more tax revenue, why would we force thousands of skilled and productive workers out of the workforce every year? This isn't just about retirement when you think about it. It's about dignity, it's about economics, it's about fairness, it's about whether Jamaica is making the best use of one of its greatest resources, its people. So let us dig beneath the surface. We will trace the history of Jamaica's retirement age, compare it with other countries across the Caribbean, across the Commonwealth, and even beyond. Examine who benefits and who loses, and ask a difficult but important question. Is it time for Jamaica to rethink mandatory retirement at 65? To understand why Jamaica enforces a retirement age of around 65, particularly in the public service and in many corporate contracts, you have to look beyond a single law or government decision. The policy is a result of decades of economic pressures, demographic changes, labor market realities, and long-standing cultural expectations. When you step back and compare Jamaica with other Commonwealth countries, as I have done, from the Caribbean to Canada to the United Kingdom, Africa, and Australia, you realize Jamaica's story is not unique. It is part of a much larger global struggle to balance government finances, opportunities for younger workers, and the dignity of older citizens who still have much to contribute. For generations, Jamaica's standard retirement age in the public service was 60, and in some cases, even 55 for women. This is a system that we inherited from British colonial civil service structures established in the mid 20th century. The thinking at the time was simple: work for 30 or 40 years, retire, and enjoy a relatively short retirement supported by a pension. But over time, healthcare improved and life expectancy increased. And Jamaicans, like people across much of the Commonwealth, began living well into their 70s and beyond. Suddenly, governments found themselves paying pensions for 20 or even 30 years after someone left the workforce. Right across the Caribbean, I found that the challenges were similar. Barbados gradually increased its pensionable age from 60 to 67. Trinidad and Tobago has been debating raising its national insurance retirement age from 60 to 65 in order to preserve the long-term sustainability of its pension system. In Africa, countries such as Ghana still maintain a compulsory retirement age of 60, while Kenya increased its public service retirement age from 55 to 60 in response to growing pension costs. Meanwhile, wealthier Commonwealth countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia historically set their state pension age at 65. Note the word historically. Australia has since increased it to 67, while the United Kingdom continues to gradually raise its pension age to cope with an aging population. Jamaica eventually faced the same financial reality. By the 2010s, pension obligations were placing increasing pressure on the national budget. So, through reforms under the Public Service Pensions Act of 2017, the retirement age for many public sector workers was gradually increased from 60 to 65. Now, ironically, what many people see today as a rule forcing workers out was originally intended to allow Jamaicans to remain employed for 5 additional years while helping to protect the country's pension system. But you may ask the question, why has 65 become such a firm cutoff instead of simply giving people the choice to continue working? There are 3 major reasons, as my research shows. The first is financial sustainability. Pension systems depend on basic mathematics. Jamaica's birth rate has fallen below the level needed to replace the population. That means fewer young workers are entering the labor force each year to support a growing number of retirees. A fixed retirement age gives the government a predictable timeline, allowing planners to know when employees stop contributing to pension funds and begin receiving benefits. The second reason is generational turnover. Jamaica has struggled for decades with youth unemployment and the migration of many educated young people seeking opportunities overseas. Supporters of mandatory retirement argue that if senior employees remain in their positions until they are well into their 70s, promotion opportunities disappear. Talented young professionals become frustrated and even more of them leave the country. Now, this argument is common across many developing Commonwealth countries, such as our own Jamaica, Nigeria, and India, where mandatory retirement is often viewed as a way to create opportunities for younger generations. Yet, the situation is very different in countries like Canada and the United Kingdom. Their declining birth rates and labor shortages have led their governments and employers to encourage experienced older workers to stay in the workforce longer rather than retire early. Now, the third reason involves legal protection for employers. You see, in Jamaica, having a clearly defined retirement age written into employment contracts helps employers avoid disputes over age-related dismissals. That's a key one. A lot of people don't realize that. Without such provisions, terminating an older employee solely because of age could potentially expose employers to claims of unfair dismissals before the Industrial Disputes Tribunal. By specifying retirement at 65, employers establish a clear contractual expectation. Again, this differs sharply from countries like the United Kingdom, which abolished its default mandatory retirement age in 2011. And in Canada, there's no retirement age. You can decide when you want. Employers, therefore, generally cannot force someone to retire at 65 in these countries unless they can demonstrate a very strong and objective justification. Canada has gone even further, effectively banning mandatory retirement in most jurisdictions by treating age-based forced retirement as discrimination under human rights legislation. While the retirement age of 65 may make sense on paper, it often collides with the realities faced by many Jamaicans. And one of the biggest challenges is inadequate pension coverage. A large percentage of Jamaica's workforce is employed in the informal sector or works without access to a private pension. For many people, reaching age 65 does not mean enjoying a comfortable retirement in Jamaica. Instead, it can mean a sudden and dramatic loss of income. Another consequence is the loss of experience in fields such as healthcare, education, policing, engineering, and senior public administration. So, mandatory retirement can remove highly skilled professionals at the height of their knowledge, creating gaps that may take years to fill. Then there is perhaps the greatest irony of all. Listen to this one. Many organizations that require employees to retire at 65 end up hiring those same individuals back on 1, 2, or 3 years more through consultancy contracts. An employee officially retires, collects their retirement benefits, and then returns to the very same office, sometimes doing the exact same job the following week, sometimes the following day. And that raises an important question. If their skills are still needed after retirement, was retirement truly necessary in the first place? Now, when I look at all the evidence, it appears Jamaica adopted the retirement age of 65 not out of malice, but as a structural compromise designed to balance financial sustainability, opportunities for younger workers, and legal certainty for employers. Yet, as people live longer, remain healthier, and face rising costs of living, Jamaica now stands at the same crossroads, confronting many other Commonwealth countries. The question is, should retirement at 65 remain a rigid rule, or should it become a more flexible milestone that allows capable individuals to continue contributing if they choose? The fact is that at the end of the day, a nation is judged not only by how well it prepares its young people for the future, but also by how it values the wisdom, experience, and sacrifice of those who helped build it. Economic sustainability is essential. We can't ignore that. But it should never come at the expense of human dignity. Creating opportunities for the next generation should not automatically mean closing the door on those who still have the ability and the desire to serve. So, what do you think? Should 65 remain Jamaica's mandatory retirement age? Or is it time for a more flexible approach? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this discussion valuable, please share the video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. One Jamaica, one vision, one country under God. See you next time.
Here we come. One people, one nation. Standing tall.